Welcome back, my dark means, to the Dark Void ruled by me, 951. And we're back to WTF News reaction. I don't know, gaming. I have no idea what to call this anymore. This thing evolved from gaming anime to gaming anime, but I was like playing that, so it evolved. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Today we're going to be watching Young Yes video. Sony response after killing physical disc leads to mass rebellion. It goes very poorly. Finally, oh yeah, that's right. Sony finally responds to the backlash. And I've heard that it's not being taken well by every single one of us. So we're going to be watching this. We're going to see what's going on. And we're going to see whether or not Sony's backlash is as bad as we think. Or they think we're idiots and deserve nothing but digital. And don't care about physical. Anyway, yeah. If you don't know what's happening, basically Sony has is going to be stopping doing digital in 2028, I think is what it said. And with that means that it's going to only be digital. Which means they will have a monopoly on every single game. And they can tell us that we don't own it. Especially after the recent, what happened, the shutdown of the PSN like a week ago. And that really was bad because it really showed everyone that you don't own your game. Anyway, we're going to be watching this. Youngya, take it away.
It only took them, a month to respond, but they've finally addressed the backlash and the rebellion surrounding Sony and PlayStation's plan to end physical media, physical discs, starting January
what
of
is their
2028
response
for their platform.
Oh yeah, it is 2028.
Unfortunately, that response is just complete and utter ass. This is a situation that began on July 1st, 2026, when Sony and PlayStation made the announcement on news regarding physical discs for new games and how they will be completely absent after January of 2028. And of course, I've talked about the amount of interaction, viewership, and ratioing that all this received.
Everyone was
and
pissed off
there is a rebellion going on right now still. Whether it's enough to actually get Sony and PlayStation to change their minds is one thing, but certainly voices have been loud enough that Sony and PlayStation knew they eventually had to address all of this, especially in front of investors. Right here we have Video Games Chronicles coverage of this, talking about how during a Q&A session following its Q1 2026 earnings announcement, Sony CFO Lin Tao has addressed the situation regarding the backlash on them ending physical media, which is something that investors love. When Sony made that announcement, I believe their stock price went up, actually.
Oh, I bet they did.
Because they know that in screwing over customers and consumers, Sony's profit potential is greater, and ultimately all investors and corporations and executives care about is seeing number go up indefinitely. And to that end, they will do anything and everything, even if it means killing something that is so culturally and historically important to gaming, which is physical media, or just straight up doing all of that without consideration for the lack of consumer rights that users have.
Yeah, they don't care.
Digital media.
They just want money.
What did Lin Tao have to say when asked to address the situation? Here's what she said, quote, "We announced that from January of 2028 onwards, we'll no longer be manufacturing game discs, so we announced it 1.5 years ahead." Gee, thanks. That's actually not a whole lot of time at all when you consider what you're losing with that. There are various reasons we made this decision, says Lin Tao. The biggest being that digitalization of content overall has been progressing. That's the big factor. It's not just for PlayStation, but for all kinds of content. Digitalization is progressing. But no medium that has digital being the dominant form in which people purchase that media has decided to completely eradicate physical media. You know what I mean? Like movies, the majority of that gets watched via streaming and the like, and digitally. But that doesn't mean that Blu-rays are completely gone. That doesn't mean that they're erasing physical media entirely. Same with music. The vast majority of that happens through streaming and digital. But they still sell vinyls. They still sell CDs. In fact, Sony recently came out with like a new vinyl player and stuff. So, you know, if they can save physical media for music, they can certainly save physical discs for video games. If they can do one, they can certainly do the other. I don't know where gaming, is the exception to all of this. To me, this is a bullshit excuse. Just because something is becoming more digitized doesn't mean there isn't any room whatsoever for physical media. That physical media has to be eradicated entirely. Just decrease the supply to match the current demand, but don't delete physical media entirely. That is nonsense. That ability to collect something and have it physically in hand is such a valuable aspect of video games. Many developers recently can't...
Exactly. I said this in my last video that what's the point of a box if it doesn't have anything in it? Like I said, you could, if there's no game in a box, is it really a collector's item? Because I can just remove the, and if you say, oh, it has the paper on it, yeah, but I can remove the paper out of it, and that box is in that container. It's just a plastic container. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything at that point. Literally, at that point, I mean, even if it didn't have a paper, as long as it had a game in it, which I own some of them, that game, you know, that game has the game in it. Like a GameCube game I have. Basically, I removed the paper like years ago, but that box is basically the Mario Party 4 game. I think yeah. So in the end of the day, that's still considered the Mario Party 4 box. But once you remove the game from it, it really is just a plastic container. It has nothing. It's not really a collector's item because anyone could just rip that thing off of it. And it'd be done with it. So unless there's something physical in there, what's the point? All right, continue on.
Came out and talked about how sad this is, not only because of their, nostalgia for that and what physical media brings to the table, but also like they know they're going to miss things like when people come up to the developers with their physical copy and ask for a signature. There's this physical manifestation of something that means a lot to both the creator and the end user. Chief Financial Officer Lin Tao's statement continues, and so when we think about the future, we put in a lot of thought and time, and we cautiously consider this, and we came to this conclusion, and we're going to cautiously move this forward.
Decided, hey,
so they are not giving up on this. They're saying this is going to happen. And I don't think there was any cautious consideration for the end user. I think the consideration was always about timing. They were always wanting to do this. An all-digital future is fantastic for game publishers because it means it's just less money spent on manufacturing and giving
more money
retailers their cut and stuff like that, and they get to have full control over the price point of their games.
Monopoly.
Basically make it so that their games can only be bought through the PlayStation Store. They get to make maximum profits. That's all.
I'm gonna say this right now. I've seen a video, and this is how bad that thing is, where it says, oh, they have all control. It is so bad that if you look up any of these videos, these don't involve gaming at all. But these other products are literally gone to this point. I mean, I saw a video where somebody was using a printer, but guess what? That printer cannot print any other paper unless you buy an exclusive paper for that printer. That's right. A video I watched. I can't remember what it was. So if you know what it is, please link it. Please comment it down below. But I saw a video where literally a guy talks about how you can't even use any other paper besides the company's paper because they put something in it to where it needs to be scanned so it can be used. And if you try to use any other paper, the freaking printer will say, yeah, it's not. We can't use this one. You don't have the appropriate paper for this one. That is how bad this is. That is how much freaking idiocy it is. If you can't even use another piece of printer paper for a goddamn printer, how much printer? I'm trying. My brain is like starting to freaking get upset right here. I'm trying to come up with something. How is it at that point? Are you really even owning the thing? Because the company, and what's even worse, I think he said that the company can literally just ban you from the printer if they decide to as well. That is literally what PlayStation is trying to do. I mean, what these gaming companies are trying to do. These greedy game companies. They want it. It's basically the same thing as the game companies. They want to control everything, so you have no choice but to buy them from them. That is how bad it is. And this is even, and the thing I just described, it doesn't even involve gaming. What's worse, there's other things that are slowly beginning to creep into there to make it so you can only buy from companies. Seriously, look up the videos. You're going to see how far this goes. How far you need to, you don't own shit goes. It's getting that bad. It's getting that bad. Seriously. The fact that I cannot use any other printer paper except the one the company made is such an idiotic thing. That is literally just a glimpse in the future. Think about it. You probably can't even go into a freaking store to buy a certain item without buying another item. Think on that. Think on it. What will happen to the day when you walk in the store and you can only buy certain items from a certain company because it doesn't allow you. Imagine the cable wires that we have now for our phones. I have multiple cable wires that work for my tablets. Imagine if you could not even use another cable wire for charging, and only the exclusive one from the company. Now I know there's some of those right now, but thankfully some of these cables are universal. But think about it. What happens today if any of these companies decide, hey, we're gonna you can only use our cables because you're buying it from us, and we don't think it's fair for you to buy another competitor's cable. Think on it. Think on that. Anyway, moving on. Sorry I had to take up some time.
They've been thinking about, and they knew that the backlash would happen, but they had to think about the timing of it.
Timing?
This was always the road that they wanted to head into, regardless
the time was wrong.
of what consumers think. They knew the backlash would be there, but they were just trying to think of when is the right time to announce it.
Go!
And yes, it is true that currently
right
digital
timing,
is far more dominant as
because what happened recently,
purchasing games than physical is. But physical media purchases is still substantial, and when you do offer people the option of purchasing between digital and physical, while digital is more dominant, physical still sees a good amount of sales. But the thing is, so many platforms are starting to transition into basically all digital. So many game releases are starting to not even give the option of physical, and then they come out and say, well, see, there's far more digital sales than physical, but
because you're forcing them
that option. They basically take figures across all platforms, including PC, and say, look at how many more copies were sold digitally.
You can't use that.
And again, it is a majority, but the consideration is that PC does not have any sort of physical media anymore. All the games launched on PC don't offer a physical option. It's all digital now.
Yeah,
so
my PC still has a disk drive.
Towards digital when you stop offering that choice. Even if digital is ultimately the majority, it doesn't mean that physical has no place to exist whatsoever. It doesn't mean that the demand for physical is so non-existent that it deserves to be completely.
People still want to hold something in their hands.
Planet. Physical media should still on some
Imagine
level
if you can't,
be available in the same way.
If you're a mechanic, you can't even basic.
Lin Tao continues talking about understanding the emotions of gamers. This basically soulless robot that's there to serve the corporation. Talking about what consumers think. To this decision, we have received various opinions. She says that's a hell of an understatement. Various opinions.
You had a mountain,
and we understand that the community has put forward those views to us. Goddamn right. Gamers are loved by many people. It's a form of entertainment that's loved by people, and it's connected to people's fond memories in many cases. And so we understand those emotions. You're just saying words. You don't understand anything, because if you did, then you would reverse this course of action. And then finally, you want to consider that, and in the future digital ecosystem, how do we engage the gamers is something that we would like to continue to explore. Start by encouraging lawmakers to force you to stop having full control over our digital libraries.
I should be allowed
make
to
it
have
so
my games.
That you can no longer take away our digital media whenever license agreements expire or when servers go down and whatnot, like how it happened with the over 550 movies that will get removed from people's libraries come September of 2026, or what happened when
imagine you pay like $800 for digital items and then all of a sudden you lose it.
Digital games, same thing
you lose
happened
all those items
with Xbox. As long as digital continues to have such a lack of security and such a lack of assurance for consumer rights and their ability to have in perpetuity access to the products that they purchased, none of this freaking matters, and nothing you say matters. It doesn't matter, what you say about exploring how they engage with gamers on this front, when you're not doing even the most basic necessary steps to ensure our security and our agency over our products when it comes to digital media. When you're essentially pushing against that, and you're doing nothing to actually give players some kind of security while you make this announcement. You just made this announcement and didn't give us anything additional. You didn't say, but despite us ending physical discs, we are adding these additional functionalities to digital media, like the ability to buy, trade, and sell, or preservation elements, or control and agency elements for consumers. You just blanketly decided to erase physical media and then not give anything back to the consumers, not even like make games cheaper, since you don't have to deal with physical anymore.
They're
You're
still
like trying to
gonna
have
go
your
with the
cake
90 or
and
70.
eat it too.
And it's not even cheaper.
We see what you're doing. You're like, executives think they're sleek. But
seriously,
they're not. Now, in addition to being asked to address the backlash surrounding all of this, they were also asked to address the potential impact that all of this will have. Tao was asked if Sony saw any impact now or in the future after they made the announcement, to which she said the following: "We're not seeing any impact on our business as of now. Going forward, about the content sales, large part is already digitized. Therefore, as a result of the discontinuation of a disc, we don't see that there will be any negative impact on our business. However, as I already said, the users, the players have attachments, and we have to think about how to respond to those feedbacks. Except you've provided no response or feedback whatsoever. You're only responding to investors. When investors ask, you show up. When consumers are like expressing their voices loudly, in the millions of users, to the point where like your tweet on this saw like almost 200 million views.
Even the normal
you're radio silent and don't say anything
by
reassuring. What is that about? But this is the bottom line right here. If Sony and PlayStation don't actually see a negative impact to their business because the only language these corporations speak is money, then they have no reason and no incentive to change their ways. No reason to backpedal on this move if we as end users don't, protest at a level that is genuinely disruptive. If the number of protesters is too low, and if the protest and rebellion itself is not persistent enough through a long period of time to the point where it can have a negative impact on Sony's finances, then this is a course that Sony will continue to take. And this is why there is an encouragement right now to protest Sony and PlayStation in the form of what Does It Play posted right here, a proposal to essentially go on a week-long blackout where nobody tunes in to play PlayStation games, nobody logs into their accounts, and nobody buys any games. Does It Play posted the following: Sony wants to abandon fans. Let's give them a small taste of their own medicine. Together with other creators, we call for a 1-week PS blackout in August. No logins, no play sessions, no purchases on any of Sony's platforms. Blackout. And this is intended to start on August 23rd at 7 p.m. local time through Sunday, August 30th at 7 p.m. local time. And it is something that a lot of people are saying, yeah, fuck it, I'll participate just to see what happens, because, boycotts don't tend to be the most effective way of doing things usually.
I want to record to see the damage that's going to happen. I want to see how long it takes for me to get a game.
They don't have enough people participate to make it effective, but that doesn't mean it isn't worth trying, because if we give up before even trying, then there's no point to it at all, and these corporations will get away with it. So it's worth making that attempt. I'll be participating in this blackout as well, especially after this statement where Sony provided nothing useful and ultimately said
they didn't say anything.
Corporate statements that try to placate the gaming community, but with no substance behind it, no real meaning behind it. They're ultimately just addressing investors, and they're saying things like, we are definitely considering gamers and all this, but no evidence to that effect is present. They've done everything that shows a complete lack of consideration.
The exact opposite.
And for gamers and what they desire out of a console experience. And so, the backlash has been swift. Discussing film, posting all this, they're already seeing a lot of viewership and a lot of interactions, and, top comments saying things like, translation, we're greedy fucks and don't care about you or our company as long as we line our pockets. There's even video of CFO Lin Tao speaking to this effect, saying the statements that I just read out loud to you, and the interaction surrounding this. People are only getting more angry at Sony for this. So top comments saying things like, the fact that Sony only responded during its earnings call says it all, really. Yeah, radio silent when it comes to end users for a whole month. And it's because they know that no matter what they say, unless what they say is we're reversing this course of action, they're not going to get any kind of positive feedback. People won't hear it unless Sony and PlayStation reverse this awful decision. The fact that they still ultimately just address the investors first says it all. It's not shocking. It's not surprising.
And look what happened.
The real customers of corporations is ultimately the investors. You know, they want to keep them happy because they're ultimately, you know, one of the reasons that Sony and PlayStation is able to have the financial capacity to operate and to realize their ultimate goal of, again, seeing number go up. And as we scroll down, the backlash
oh man, look at this.
Intense. People calling this a horrible response. Shame on you, PlayStation. They are expressing how Sony is basically just doubling down, and it's only creating more for.
Don't care about us. We want more money.
All of this, and you know,
shut up and be happy.
Let the backlash continue because again, if it's
shut up and be happy,
then all of this will die down, and eventually,
if you're not happy, then shut up.
Get away with it, as will the rest of the games industry when they follow suit. Because when one major entity pulls something like this and they get away with it, everyone else will feel like they have the permission to do it, since they're not the first ones to do it anymore. And then we have a topic here on Twitter that basically is dedicated to all of this, and you can see just the level of interaction that this is seeing. Sony's response is only exacerbating things, but you know, ultimately it's about the long-term battle, right? If Sony and PlayStation can weather the storm and ultimately see no real negative impact on their quarterly results, or
they're in their bunker right now
when they speak to investors,
they're only in the bunker.
You know, this is something that will just be the new normal. Again,
I don't want that.
Encourage people to ultimately speak with lawmakers, because lawmakers corporations can't get away with
I don't
shit
want my
like this.
Guess what?
Legislation is enacted that forces.
Before he continues on, I'm gonna say this: if they succeed, they can literally. I mean, didn't they say that we're gonna do dynamic, bringing pricing? Dude, dynamic pricing in games. Are you freaking kidding me on that one? Also, not only that, they can literally say, "Hey, we're gonna increase the prices again, like $100." I mean, imagine if they wanted to increase the price again. They could just say, "Oh, we're gonna increase the prices." How is anyone gonna stop it? Because at that point, digital games, because without physical copies, what's the point in letting them not stop making the prices bigger? We're already at like 80 or wait, how much is this? $80 now? At this point, what's stopping them from increasing the prices once it goes all digital? And not only that, sorry, my brain's like trying its best, but still.
Companies to behave a certain way, they will. Otherwise, if a company can legally, you know, technically legally get away with something, even if it's ethically and morally reprehensible, they will do it because the law doesn't limit them in any way, and it ultimately makes them more money, which is their end goal. So right now, I think the real battle is highlighting to legislators, not that this is a battle of like how we want to play games, but a battle of what we lose as consumers in terms of rights if physical goes away, or at the very least if digital isn't addressed in such a way where the protections surrounding that are brought to the level of what it's like when you purchase a physical product, which is that, you know, you get to keep it for however long you want. How you use it is up to you, and no corporation or company gets to barge into your home and take that physical product away from you. That's how digital products and digital media should work. But yeah, what a stark contrast from the PlayStation.
Man, I remember this.
I remember this a long time ago. Skits and being on the right side of history. Remember this? This was the Sony of old. And now Sony has grown and gone so cold where the only way in which they address community backlash is in a room like this. You know, just
oh my God, look at that one.
Sterile and just.
I hate this room sterilization. What is going on in this world?
Just again, the most.
I feel like I'm watching a politician
like this, where there's a lot of passion.
Look at this. I feel like I'm watching
has lost their passion
a freaking room in politics,
and it just sucks to see. They're just going full.
Man, what happened to the colors?
I'm sure there's a lot of people within PlayStation who disagree with
this. Now it's all sterilized.
Who are developers and who love.
Sorry, that was a tangent.
Media, but ultimately, it's an order from up top. It's, you know, at the top level of Sony executives where we're seeing this happen. PlayStation ultimately is, you know, under the umbrella of Sony. They are a subsidiary of Sony, and they ultimately have to listen to Sony's marching orders. So ultimately, this battle is against Sony, but either way, it doesn't make it suck any less.
No.
And it's encouraging to see that the backlash is still going pretty strong. But again, it's a matter of disruption, not just about being loud. It's about how to disrupt Sony and PlayStation and participating in blackouts and boycotts at a mass level enough, and continuing that disruption throughout the course of the next few months and years. That's what it takes. And whether that's a battle we can win, you know, the gaming community and the populace at large will decide. And then beyond that, lawmakers will decide whether Sony should be able to get away with something like this, whether just games industry as a whole, media as a whole, should be able to get away with stuff like this, because eventually this is where all of media might potentially be headed if Sony's able to get away with it. So let's not have this be normalized, but ultimately, it is an uphill battle, but one that is possible to reverse with enough disruption. But time will tell whether that disruption will end up happening at a mass enough level and at a sustained enough level. In the meantime, though, I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are on Sony's.
But yeah, that's about it. But still, the fact that we're getting to this point is insane. But either way, August 23rd, it's at 7 o'clock, starts in there. Like I said, for me, for my part, I'm just going to record to see how long it takes for me to get into the game. To see how much the backlash is working. Because if it takes me, like, who knows how long to get into a game, I guess, like, I don't know, like at least 5 minutes or 10 minutes, then I can see it working. But that's the first day. I'm going to try to get at least a recording of it once a day. Once a day, just to see it. Alright. Yeah, that's what I'm going to try, but still. It's going to be a long video. But either way, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know down in the comments. Are you going to be participating in this? Are you still going to play your games? Let me know in the comments. And also, do you think Sony will ever go back on this backlash? Will ever respond to this backlash? Actually do something that helps the community? Or do you think they've already decided and don't care about the rest of us? Because at this point, yeah, I just see Sony not giving an F. We're going into all digital space. And I hope emulators start appearing more and more often. Because at this point, it's now, because piracy is not illegal anymore. They say piracy is illegal. I say it's not, because you keep taking away my stuff. So shut the heck up and do something about it, which means actually making your games actually for where we can play it eternally, or eternally and where I can still own it, or shut the heck up and let piracy happen, because you guys can't do jack about it. Okay, sorry, my brain is still addled. By the way, hope you enjoyed today's video. Like I said, let me know in the comments what you think about the situation. Did I forget any other information? Did y'all forget any? Wait, did I forget any other information from this video? Is there anything more that you know about it? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and share. That'll spread the word. Remember, it's August 23rd through Sunday. It starts at 7. All right. See it. Go and participate if you can. Participate if you want, if you can. Sorry, my brain is like addled right now. It's trying to figure this stuff out. Like and share video. Don't forget, black bell button, notify whenever my videos pop up, because you know what it is. I forget. Younger City takes over. YouTube channel doesn't bother announcing my channel. Restricted mode, turn it off. Remove my videos from your feed, because restricted mode's on. Yeah. Anyway, that's about it. And for right now, my dark means dismissed.